Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to Adventures with Captain Ray Kelly live. And I got another great show scheduled with three great guests. There's no doubt you're going to love each of them. They all have a different story. They all have different experiences, and it's going to be an interesting night to say the least. But I'm glad to be here. You know, I was out giving my Mavic 3 a test flight right after the update. A lot of people don't might not know, but the Mavic 3 came out with an update, and it was going to bring some new features to the drone that it was missing. But unfortunately, when I did the test flight, well, first I didn't have an issue getting the satellites. My drone was good. Maybe it was one of the few that didn't have that issue going on. But after the update, I'm having an issue connecting the satellites quickly. But I waited it out and waited it out, and finally, I had a enough satellites to fly. Initially, it stayed where I only had that 98 altitude limit, but I got a test flight in, and I was happy. But there's some work to be done, and I'm gonna double check everything and see if I can correct that satellite issue. But I love that drone. Most of you know I love that drone, and I think it's a great drone. And most everybody else loves their drone too. The Mavic 3, that is. Um, the other the other drone that I do love to fly is this one. This is the Air 2S, and I can't say enough good things about this. I really haven't had any issues whatsoever with this drone. Um, it it sets up quickly, brings in the satellites, and I always get a great flight with the Air 2S. Um, but I don't want to keep the guys in the back room too long. But I want to say hello to the people in the chat. So let me say hello to Maddie. How you doing, Maddie? And Stevie Bronx. Good to see you. Thank you. Drone and New Visuals. Good to see you, Johnny Drone Flyer. Thank you for coming in. Sergio, how you doing? And Jay Bird Drone. Joe, how you doing? All the way from Ohio. Steve Jones, how you doing? All the way from Texas. Hey Lawrence, how you doing? All the way from New York City. But anyway, we got a great crowd in the house, and there's Stephen Drones too. Thank you all for coming in, and I don't want to keep Robbie in the back room too long. He's going to be our first guest because he's got to leave a little early because he's got to get ready for his own show at 7 o'clock. But I'm going to bring in Robbie. He's coming to us all the way from Thailand. How you doing, Robbie?
Drone overload. I woke up
Yeah.
last night and everybody was talking about all these updates with DJI, in which I had done the update yesterday but not flown. Man, I tell you, there should be enough news for like 30 live streams for the next week over all these updates at all these companies. First it was all hell, now it's DJI. What's next? The drone world's going crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, Robbie, you're back in Thailand now. How are you liking flying your drones over in Thailand?
Well, it used to be where I had a good choice to fly over water or not fly over water. Here the ocean's like 3 minutes down the road here, so it's like that's where I'd go to fly. So I'm still trying to find new places to fly. So usually on the weekends we've been going to different resorts and areas, and of course they have a beach. But it's just a learning process. I don't know the areas. I don't drive here. I do drive the motorcycles a little bit, but not a lot on the main roads because the people here they drive like hell. They'll run over you. So I have to, make sure that I don't get killed. So I'm limited to where I can actually go.
Yeah, I know you're happy to be back there. You sort of got
20 months.
locked down and you couldn't get back, correct?
20 months I was stuck here, and it made it really inconvenient. And right now we're trying to look and see what the virus is doing, what the airlines are doing, and I really want to try to make it to the meetup, to the event. But if not, you're probably going to get a box in the mail anyway. because what I'm giving away, I'm probably not going to be able to pack it and bring it with me because of the weight. So I'll probably just have to start sending you the stuff in the boxes so you'll have it there, whether I show or not. That way, I'm not having to carry it because it's a long flight. It's a long flight.
Well, I got to say, thank you. A lot of people in the chat, most everybody knows that you are one of our sponsors of the South Florida Drone Meetup, and Robbie and the World Drone Community, um, and Travel Tech 360. I guess it's a joint venture.
Right.
He's donating a Mini 2 as a raffle prize, along with a GoPro and some action cams, and we really appreciate that, Robbie. We really do.
I got some little stuff, some little extra stuff, surprise stuff that I'm gonna put in the boxes and give away.
Yeah.
A lot of us have the different drones. There's some drones that we don't have, and it's always nice when someone wins something that they don't have, like in your case, the Mavic 3, which I'm not giving away. But it's nice to be able to do that because there are a lot of people that are on the fence about buying certain products, and sometimes when they get it, they're like when the Mavic 3 came out, I was like, what would I use it for? I don't want it, but I changed my mind. So it's nice to be able to get stuff and not have to shell out a bunch of money for it to test it. Because they influence other people and say, hey, it's a good product, buy it. So it's a good way to kind of give back to the community.
Yeah, and we appreciate it. You really have a lot of experience flying. I know you hooked up with Al Duran. He's your partner on the World Drone Community, and you and him have flown a lot in Virginia, correct?
Yeah, we flew. Actually, I met I met Al when I got stuck with the virus. My sister is really good friends with his wife, and Al was in the hospital, and she goes, "Hey, I want to stop by and visit a friend." So I'm a computer guy. I'm a programmer. He worked for Dell, so we got in there and started talking about computers. He's like, "What do you know about drones?" I was like, "Nothing." He goes, "Oh, when I get out of the hospital, we're gonna have some fun." So during COVID, me and him hung out so much, and he gave me my first drone, taught me how to fly it, and Al gets in depth with his videos and his other stuff on his channel and other people's channel. But I'll tell you, the guy knows cameras and he knows drones. I mean, I'm just telling you that just when I fly distance sometimes, and I've got a lot of hours and stick time in on flying, but Al's the kind of guy you give a car to and you tell him that it'll go 100 miles an hour. He's going to prove that it'll go 100 miles an hour. I just don't do that. He's very brave on what he will do, but he has taught me a lot on what to do and what not to do. And he is my go-to person when I have a question that I don't know. Usually Al has an answer for it.
Yeah, no. I watched a lot of Al's videos in the beginning when I was learning. I remember him being on Drone Nation. That's where I first saw Al, and he made an impression on me. And I was saying, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about with drones, And I started watching his videos, and you can always learn watching YouTube videos.
Yeah, you're right.
I always say that to any new people that are thinking they get involved with drones, that they should take the time to watch YouTube videos on learning how to fly drones.
Yeah, Al does. I'll say that about him. He's in it because he does love to fly. And I mean, there were many times where he called me at like 9 in the morning. He goes, "Hey, you got 30 minutes?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go out and fly drones." I'd get home at like 9 o'clock at night. He's like, "Are you tired? Are you hungry? We'll go eat lunch," and bring me back. So after a while, I was just like, but when I really started flying and buying my own drones and flying and understanding more, I was just like him. Yeah, let's get out all day. But dude's hardcore, really is.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I look forward to meeting you. I really did. So I hope you do come to the South Florida Drone Meetup. And for those that don't know when it is, it's going to be on April 2nd, 2022. It's scrolling across the bottom there. And we're going to have it in Jensen Beach, Florida this year. And, I got my list over here, but the Mavic 3 is on it. So I'm not going to bother to lift it up. But I got 67 people that say they're coming at this point. So it's going to be a successful event. There's no charge. It's free, and you come, you get a raffle ticket. You might win a prize,
That's right. We're going to have fun prizes and stuff to give away. Good stuff.
And it's one of those things where you know Mark Fisher, right? You know Mark Fisher? Well, he offered to do an editing presentation during the South Florida Drone Meetup, and I think that's going to be pretty interesting. But Robbie, um, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm going to bring in our second guest. All right, and let me say hello to a couple of people first. Jerry Bauer, how you doing? Canada. Well, he's not in Canada now. He's a snowbird like me. He's in Florida. Um, and John Bonaparte, good to see you. And DeMarco, good to see you. Fly Guy Merrill. And Thomas Ariels, all the way from Ireland. And Alan, Drone Views Media, he's in Ireland also. So we got an international audience today, and I like to see that. But without further ado, I want to bring in our second guest. He's a police officer, and this is Brandon Karr. He's coming to us all the way from Pearland, Texas. He's in charge of the drone unit on that police department. Welcome, Brandon.
Howdy, thank you for having me.
Well, it's good to have you. You know, I like to have police officers on my show, and we've had them on in the past, and the viewers like hearing the stories. And I know you have a few stories to tell us tonight. So, but Brandon, how did you become involved with drones, and tell us how you got assigned to the drone unit?
So, like most government agencies, we ended up having a tragedy, which is how our program started. Back in 2017, we had an autistic juvenile go missing on Thanksgiving, and it was a huge operation. We had every neighboring agency in a massive radius come out. We had Texas EquiSearch, we had Texar out there, Coast Guard, you name it, they were there looking for this kid. And unfortunately, that did not have the outcome we were hoping it would, but we believed that had we had drones, we potentially could have either saved that kid's life, or we could have brought closure to the family sooner than we did. And so there was a lieutenant at the time wrote up our proposal to start a drone program. Well, one very boring night on patrol, I was going through the file trees in our Office of Data file, and I found the proposal for drone operations. My background is aviation. So before I became a cop, I was going into a career in aviation. I'm a certified flight instructor for manned aviation, single engine, multi-engine ratings, as well as instrument. And so I was like, well, I could use that information to kind of get me where I'm going with getting the program stood up. And so I asked if I could run with it, and they said yes, and I never looked back. So now we have built our program into being globally recognized by drone responders and international emergency drone organization. I've helped stand up a little over 700 programs. We had the second Tactical Beyond Visual Line of Sight waiver authorized in the United States. We fly around 130 deployments a year. And those are live public safety deployments, not just training and maintenance. And we fly for anything, you name it, whether it's a crash crime scene reconstruction mapping to tactical SWAT operations, search for kids, search for suspects. One of the great things I like to talk about, our very first suspect find or person find was actually an autistic individual who went missing. So that was kind of really nice coming full circle on where the tragedy was and then making a save. So that was really, really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So you actually get paid to fly. And literally,
I do. I'm one of those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's good to have you on because, you know, as you know, I'm a retired detective, and I try to promote law enforcement as much as I can. And when I hear drones being used for good things, it's just great, you know. How many people are in your unit, or are you the only drone cop?
So I'm the only full-time guy. They pulled me off patrol because I'm super busy managing the program. But we keep our program small. We try to operate it similar to what a canine unit would. And so we have 6 pilots on police patrol. I also run the fire department's program, communications, geospatial, and the PDs. So that's why I'm full-time. But we definitely stay busy, like I said. So it's a lot of fun.
Sure.
What drones do y'all use at work?
We primarily use DJI. I got the M300 right behind me. We have just about their entire fleet from the Mini all the way up to the 300. We also have some hotels. We have a Skydio. And like I said, I've flown a few others. We get a bunch of drones for testing and evaluation for public safety response from a bunch of different manufacturers. But our primary deployables are DJI, mainly because they work.
Batteries. And man, I tell you, those batteries, that thing is
Yeah.
so heavy, it's almost scary when it gets ready to land because it bounces a little. Definitely a good drone.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I had the same feeling. Every single time I landed, I was like, let's hope the landing gear holds, and then boom, and then it's down.
So it's like there's no cushion to it. It's so stiff. It reminds me of the old ironing boards on the bottom of the piece of metal. They put a piece of rubber here and a rubber here to land on, and it's kind of stable, kind of like that. But once it gets in the air, dude, for as big as it is, it's stable. It really is.
Yeah, there's actually a distributor out in Kansas Kentucky, who actually designed a shock absorbing system for the landing gear for the Maturity series, and it's outstanding. So highly recommend it.
It needs it. It really does need it because it's so powerful, and it doesn't tip, but it's so close. It really is.
Yeah, for sure.
So Brandon, when you're not working, do you fly for fun at all, or?
When I'm not wearing the PD, no, I don't have time. So I wear about 9 different hats. I'm the president of the Gulf Coast Public Safety Unmanned Response Team. We're the largest public safety emergency response team in the state of Texas. We have 85 agencies under us, almost 400 pilots. So when a hurricane comes in, I help coordinate airspace and get assets in the air to go and help with disaster response and recovery. I also am a consultant for a ton of different companies. I wrote all the curriculum for Texas A&M TEACs. I have my own business and training, board member for Law Enforcement Drone Association. So I wish I could fly for fun, but I just don't have the time. And a dad and a husband. So
I was going to invite you to come and fly for fun at the South Florida Drone Meetup on April 2nd.
Yeah,
Steve Jones.
That'd be great.
Steve Jones is going to be there. But anyway, we'd love to have you. Yeah. What about hobbies? Do you have any hobbies? Fishing? Do you like fishing?
I wish. And camping. Whenever we do have free time, my wife and I like to go camping. So we have a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old. So camping kind of got put on hold a little bit. So we're waiting on them to get up a little bit bigger, and then we'll go camping again. Right, the last camping trip we did, we went on the Appalachian Trail up in Shenandoah National Park, Virginia, and that was a blast. So we gotta get back up there.
Yeah, right. It's one of those things where there's just not enough time in the day. I remember saying that when I was working, and now that I'm retired, I still say there's not enough time in the day. But
no, my hobby is I almost live on Facebook, trying to help anybody who calls me or texts me and messages on Facebook asking for help, and so that's kind of my drive. So I try to be accessible to try to make sure people can save lives with drones. So
yeah. Well, again, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be on the show. I
appreciate it. It was fun.
But do you have a favorite drone that you like to fly?
Oh man, so it's been the 300, mainly just because I can do almost anything with it. I mean, we got the H20T, we have the hover map for LiDAR, we got the P1 camera for photogrammetry. I mean, it does almost anything I need it to do. Lately, I've been flying we just got a new fleet in of Mavic 2 Advance. We were able to get rid of our old Enterprise fleet. And so I've been flying that quite a bit, and I've been fairly impressed with that one. Going from a Mavic Advance Zoom or Enterprise Zoom and dual to the Advance is quite the upgrade. But I still enjoy flying the 300 quite a bit. It's by far one of the drones I got the most time on.
What's the furthest?
I would love to see that drone. I would love to.
I can't tell you the furthest distance because there's probably an FAA guy in here, and that's frowned upon.
You know what though? If you imagine, being stuck in traffic for hours waiting to get past the wreck, it's like y'all can pop the drone up, go there, look and see if there's an injury or you need a fire truck or something.
Right.
So
we're working.
Really helps.
We're actually working on that. It's called the Drone's First Responder Program. Chula Vista kind of pioneered that. They were the first agency in the nation to do that, in the United States to do that. We're working on a similar system as well. We're working on 2-mile BV loss authorizations to essentially do that. A 911 call drops, we launch a drone, try to get eyes on, provide situational awareness to everybody, to where the person is. Do we need more resources? Do we not need more resources? To try to get everybody back on the road and on their way faster so that we're not stuck in traffic. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. But I'm not going to cut you off, but we'll
You're
all
good.
talk again. But I want to bring in our third guest because he's in the back room, and I don't want to keep him back there too long, and then we'll all have a joint conversation at the end. And Robby, anytime you have to leave, just let us know. And I know you got to get ready for your great show. And don't forget, everybody, the World Drone Community comes on at 7:00 with Robby and Al Duran. So, without further ado, let me bring in Joey Helms. And Joey to us all the way from the Chicago area, right? Illinois?
Yeah, right downtown Chicago.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being on the show. I watched your videos; they're so interesting, and you are the only guy I know that flew around volcanoes.
And I don't know if you've seen it, but I also flew into a volcano, and that drone is gone.
Yeah, but hopefully you can tell us about that after you sort of tell everybody how you became involved with drones, and then you can tell that story about the volcano.
Okay. First of all, thanks so much for having me on, and I love seeing the engagement on the chat. So hi everyone who's watching. But no, I think I got into drones about six years ago, roughly. I've been into photography for a long while, and I always stayed away from filmmaking, videography. But drones were kind of like an entry point for me to get into this space because you had like a very different, interesting angle to film. You had like already like a gimbal on your camera, so you get like really nice images, and that kind of started getting me into filmmaking, which now is becoming a side gig of mine and is all I'm doing. I barely do any photography now, but mostly filmmaking. But that's really how I got started. Like drones really got me into filmmaking, and really pushed me into that direction. And yeah, last year, in around I think March, there was a volcano erupting in Iceland, and that like Iceland in and of itself is one of my favorite countries. Been there a couple of times, but when I saw that, and I already had a trip planned in July in Iceland, I was like freaking out that by that time in July it may not be active anymore. So I booked a ticket for May, just shortly after I got vaccinated, and flew out there and spent like 4 or 5 days just around the volcano to fly drones, shoot like also with other cameras that I have, and experience that kind of magnificent display by our nature. It's absolutely stunning.
Well, tell us, what did it feel like flying by a volcano? Just tell us that experience, because I can't fathom it.
Well, the good thing about that volcano was it's not active anymore, but the good thing was that it was relatively small, relatively accessible, and it was in Iceland where the governmental agencies are very lenient in like how people access nature, because they really want to get people in touch with nature. So you could really, if you wanted to, you could just walk into the volcano and or like go on lava or whatever. People like one person has done it, but that was like a few circumstances that allowed me to get actually like really close as I wanted. And there was like this viewing hill where most people like camped out or just like experienced the eruption. At the time I was there, every 8 minutes it was basically erupting. And flying a drone, like you get used to that kind of one view, but like flying a drone really allowed me to get like these very different perspectives from all around that volcano and getting as close as you would never get in person. And it was surreal. It was surreal, especially flying FPV drones. And I just got into that fairly newly at that point. It was a very thrilling experience as well. I would not like with a Mavic, my adrenaline wasn't going, but like with an FPV drone, adrenaline was pumping every time you fly over these lava streams, and because you don't know what to expect in terms of turbulences and whatnot. So That was very thrilling. But it's certainly like I think that getting this different angle was something different.
Yeah. Gene has a question. What drone were you flying around the volcano?
Yeah, I used the DJI Mavic 2 Pro and the DJI FPV drone. So between those and another camera, it was about 1.5 hour hike to get there, and like charging those in the car. So like those two drones I basically always like took out with me there, just to have like two different kind of angles as well in terms of experiences as well.
What drone did you lose?
The DJI FPV.
Did you have the care package?
No,
What? I couldn't imagine losing a drone into the volcano, and it actually started melting before it went in, right? Correct?
Well, actually, no. Like the video that you possibly seen, like it's just like I put like a transition between like the standard and then the start. It basically just like because like with the DJI FPV drone, I was lucky because that one I think it's recording is 480p signal on the goggles, which with a super low latency. So I basically like it stopped at some point filming, but it was incredibly close to like basically like really getting into the lava when it was spewing out there.
Right. I mean, I'm just amazed by the whole story. I really am. And when I saw the video, I was like, look at this guy.
It was insane. It was. I mean, I think for me, like the most amazing thing was how it went viral around the world. I licensed that clip to Reuters, and then on June 2nd, I can remember that day. It's like burned in now. It's like all the news outlets around the world. Like I'm not gonna use an expletive. Like use this clip because it's so universally translatable, right? Like people know what drones are, people know what flying is at the very least, and people know what volcanoes are. So you don't need to explain much more than saying like someone flew a drone into a volcano and it translates all languages. So it was literally allowed like around like the globe on huge news channels and like in the evening news in like Germany, my home country. I was like, how is that even relevant? But hey, it was a very visual experience and didn't need any language and it was universally understood. So it was great to see to share that love for drones in that sense.
Well, we're pulling out dinosaurs now from those volcanoes. So the next civilization will pull your drone out.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that's from the influencer era where people like were like just doing everything.
They used to use a remote with these. Now we use the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're primarily based up in the Chicago area, correct? But you do a lot of traveling, right, around the world?
Yeah, I try to. I mean, like now last year came back a little bit. I did 2 trips to Iceland, but this year I don't know if you've seen it. There was this on the DJI channel that clip from Kamchatka, and that's Russia north of Japan, and that place now has my attention a lot because like I really want to try to get there. It's very similar to Iceland. It's a very geologically active area. There's loads of volcanoes as well, and it's just like those areas, generally speaking, have a very diverse and interesting nature side. And so I'm keen on going there. Question is, how can I make it happen? And because it's like a tricky, like getting there in general. And getting around there, but like certainly I have a little more travel plans, and usually drones come with me.
Yeah, I know. I was involved with fishing for a while, and I traveled down to Guatemala, and they had an active volcano in Guatemala that I actually saw. But
yeah,
it was way before I was into drones. So, but I would love to go back to drone.
Yeah, no, they're still active. El Fuego, I think is one of them called. And yeah, it's like a friend of mine was just there, and I was like, "Can you? The people fly drones there? Because like you never know with the regulations and so forth. Because
right.
But yeah, I don't know if you can actually like at El Fuego if you're allowed to fly there.
Yeah, definitely. I like to fly a lot by water myself, so anywhere there's water, I was just there earlier today. That's where I went. But being that I just had updated the Mavic 3, I didn't send it out over water just yet again. I kept it on over land, and but anyway, I'll get the courage and I'll start sending it out over the intercoastal waterway probably tomorrow.
Ray, are you a Baptist? Because if you're a Baptist, you can walk on water. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not.
I know. Yeah, but if anybody in the chat has any other questions, don't hesitate to ask. We'll answer them as best we can. But again,
Guys,
thank you.
I got a daughter going to school, a wife has got to go to work, and I got to get out of the way and let them do their thing. So, nice
Okay, Robbie,
you
thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. All right, I'll see you on your show. All right, okay. Thank you. But anyway, I knew he was going to have to leave a little early, but that's okay. Because you guys are so interesting. And I'm not just saying it because you're on the show. You really are. I'm watching the comments in the chat, and the viewers are finding you both very interesting. But now, how guys don't have a issue with age, but how old were you when you started flying drones, Joey?
Must have been 29, 28, 29. Yeah. It gives away now. Yeah, I already shared when I started it. Now you know how old I am.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you started later in life.
I mean, there was no really I mean, honestly, the years before were very tricky. It was around the time when my first drone was the Phantom 3 Pro. And that was really the time when everything came together as a package really nicely, and you don't have to worry about fathering, and so forth, So yeah, that was one of the reasons, convenience.
Yeah. But anyway, hey, let me say hello to Dray. He's coming all the way from California, and Jean, how you doing? She's down in Tennessee. We really got a great crowd in the house. Bill from Metro Drones, how you doing? They saw that you guys were going to be on the show. That's why they were in here, no doubt in my mind about it. I had sent out a couple of promo posts just before we went on the air, and it's good to see everybody. Thank you again for coming in. I know it's dinner time, but thank you for coming in. Brandon, back to you, if you don't mind.
Yes,
now,
I had zero interest in drones until I saw the proposal. So I flew my first drone in June of 2017, or no, 2018. Yeah, June of 2018. It was a Mavic 2 Pro. And we got lucky with that because our IT department bought 3 Mavic 2 Pros and an M210 fully kitted. And so they tried to fly them, and oddly enough, they didn't understand that on the Matrice, everything has an update. And so they couldn't get it to fly. And I was like, can I have it if I can get it to fly? And they said, yes. And I was like, all right, great. So I just happened to be able to get in with the right people who were like, no, everything needs an update. And so I didn't want to fly the Matrice first, obviously, because I didn't want to smoke a very expensive drone compared to the Mavic 2 or the Mavic Pro. And so I started out with that in a basketball gym. So it was the very first drone I flew. I didn't understand GPS stabilization or anything like that. I was like, man, this thing's not very stable floating around. And then I was like, I need formal training. And so I went to Texas A&M Teaks, who was putting a course through a different provider at the time. And one of the course curriculums that you had to do, or the course requirements, is you had to fly a SEMA, which has 0 stabilization, through an obstacle course. And so I had to get very comfortable crashing that. And once I transitioned that, then I was much easier to fly in the Mavic. And now I've flown quite a bit of stuff. So
yeah. Maddie, just to let you know, Brandon answered that question already. He doesn't have time to fly for fun.
I wish.
he wishes he did, but he's a very busy guy. But anyway, we try to promote that as much as we can. Get out there, fly for fun. Actually, I'm a co-host on another live stream on Wednesday night, and it's called the Fly for Fun Show with Johnny Drone Flyer and myself. And we welcome you guys to, when you're not doing nothing, tune into that 7 p.m.
Yeah.
But
I mean, when you get paid to do what you love, it kind of is for fun, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
no, you got it made. Believe me. If
yeah.
if they had a drone unit when I was on, I would have put in for it. Definitely. No, you got a great job, no doubt about it. But as you can see from the comments, Matt Bagwell, super interesting guest, and it's one of those things where. And then Jean, she said, "Nice first drone," But it's one of those things where I started out with a toy drone, and it was probably back in 2014, a toy drone. It was called the Spice Striker. It was $53 on Amazon, but that thing, you couldn't fly it. You'd crash it, the wind would take it, And I said, "There's no way I can become a drone pilot. This is ridiculous." I put it down, and I didn't touch drones again until 2017 when I bought a used Phantom 4, after somebody showed me how easy they are to fly, really, and I've been flying drones ever since. And a lot of people, if you talk good things about DJI, they consider you a DJI fanboy. But I just have most experience with DJI, and I think they're very good drones and they're very easy to fly. What do you think, Joey? What do you think about DJI?
Yeah, good question. So no, I think I'm obviously there for a reason dominating the market. I think they pushed this space really incredibly forward, and I mean, I talked with a few people at Skydio. I was like at a film festival last year in September in Germany, and the rapper from Skydio was there, and they, and he used to work at DJI, and he told me like how many engineers and DJI has compared to like a couple of people Skydio has. So, like they have a full force behind it. I like in general, I think like the DJI stuff is great. What I was a little bit disappointed by was how they launched the Mavic 3 particularly, because to me it was, and I've shared this on my channel, this was a half-baked drone. Today, the update came out, so I was like flying it until my fingers froze off. But trying it out, so like it's definitely like better now. But like if you have such a market dominance that you can put out half-baked products, it's not great for consumers. I would say we still buy it, we still go after it, but like it's just for me like a little bit of a flag in terms of where the space is going. So I think we need a little bit more competition in it as well.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad that Autel came out with a Nano, the Nano Plus and the Nano Light or whatever, and I love DJI, but I think they need some serious competition, and it's good to see that. And a few people that I know have the Nano and they love it. Some other people have it and they don't love it. So it's one of those things that you can't keep everybody happy, But Zach Key, how you doing? Welcome, And Steve Jones, let's see if he's got a question. He's saying you fly for fun now. He says you fly for fun all the time.
Yeah. Again, it's on the clock, but it's
While
fun.
you work. Yeah. So anyway, you got a great job, no doubt about it. And when you have a job where you're having a good time doing it, you enjoy it, it's not really a job, right?
Exactly right. Yeah, it's a blast. The guys give me a hard time because they're always like, you're just in there flying your toys, you're playing the toys again. I'm like, yeah, but we're very successful, and y'all call us out and love not being stuck in the rain on a crash for hours on end anymore. So
Right.
But
right.
yeah, it's great. It's good.
Yeah.
The love-hate relationship. They're just jealous.
Have you ever seen one of those Ortel Dragonfish drones, Steve, Brandon?
I've flown one. Yeah, I've
Oh,
seen them
you have?
quite a bit. I have, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've seen
Does
them.
you one?
I'm sorry?
You have one of them? A dragonfish?
Oh, that'd be wonderful. I'll tell if you want to throw one my way, I'd be happy to run that through. Yeah, no, I have flown them at I flew one in Burnet, Texas at the Robotics Summit last year. I was also able to run one up in Oregon for the Law Enforcement Drone Association. But yeah, I've been around the dragonfish quite a bit. It's an outstanding bird. I know a lot of agencies who use one, and I've talked to them about how they love it. I've seen some great successes coming from that system. It's a little bit out of the price range for Pearland right now. So we're see if we can figure out some other avenues. But yeah, it's an outstanding system.
Incredible flight time too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the VTOLs, man, that's where it's at as far as being able to keep the system in the air longer than 30 minutes. Yeah, it's that one definitely wins. I like the VTOL systems. I've got to run the Dragonfish. I've flown some EBs. I've looked at a Wingtra a couple of times, but they're good drones. The Dragonfish is a very different bird. It's more of a surveillance package than it is a mapping package like the EB and the Wingtra, but is an outstanding system. Very, very impressive.
Well, the first time I saw it actually being used by a law enforcement agency was the Lee County Sheriff's Department in Florida, and they were using it on the Brian Laundrie case when he disappeared, and they were searching for him. And I was impressed just seeing it, you know. And again, they brought in, that wasn't the primary lead agency on that case, but they brought that that sheriff's department in because they had that drone, you know. But we got Mark Fisher in the house, and that's EM Drone 1, and Mark is one of the most experienced drone pilots in Rhode Island, but he likes to be a comedian. but he at our first South Florida drone meetup, somebody had crashed the DJI FPV drone into the intercoastal. And, you know, I was standing next to the guy when it happened, and I says, you know, you could probably walk where that drone is. It's not deep. The guy says, I'm not going in. So Mark ends up stripping down to his underwear, and he went in, and he ended up finding that FPV drone for that guy. So that's where he talks about being a fish in that comment there. He was the hero of the South Florida drone meetup. Yeah. So, but he got it back for the guy, and I don't think Mark has ever heard from the guy ever again. So, but and we got Mike Kelly, Copper State Aerial. How you doing? Didn't get a chance to say hello to you. And Flying Flynn. I always say Finn, but Flying Finn Media. Good to see you. But Joey, what do you like doing the best with your drones? What is your favorite thing to do?
Yeah, no, I think for what I do as a filmmaker, it's certainly like that's my primary use, right? Like it's capturing images that oftentimes they're sort of established shots to really like show off the environment, or specifically like if you go out in nature to shoot documentary style kind of films that really, I think like over the past couple of years, back in the days you needed a helicopter, but these days I think like documentaries in general, especially nature documentaries, are filled with drone footage because they just give you the best impression of the countryside. And so that's what I really enjoy, taking drones out in nature and just getting like very interesting perspectives and hope, like depending on the sunlight, also beautiful lighting and like how providing additional complementary footage that to a story that I may already tell. So so that's my primary use, really, like going out when I travel to capture those kind of imagery.
Yeah, right. I know I love filming the sunrises and the sunsets, and you know, I add them to my little YouTube videos, and you know, I think I'm a great filmmaker and all of that, but I'm not. I know I'm not. But I'm having fun making them, so that's what it's all about for me. But Brandon, we got a question from Bob Casey, Ariel, and he wants you to tell us about your worst and your best flight.
Oh man, so that's kind of a catch-22. So I'll start with my worst, so we can end on a good note. My worst flight, we recently had an airliner go down in the Houston region over in the west side of Houston. I was requested to go out and map that crash for NTSB FAA. And everything that could go wrong on that flight did. I could not get my geofencing to unlock on any of my drones. I could not get the photos, the exposure to hold, even though I kept setting the stupid exposure and it kept coming out blown out and not focused. I had at one point, I had a very, very short flyaway. Luckily, a tree stopped it really quickly on our Phantom, and so that went down. We ended up mapping the whole rest of the scene with a Mavic 2 Pro, which did phenomenal. So that was one of the worst flights. I mean, it was just a headache from the second we put our feet on the ground to when we left, and then after that, and when we did post-processing, I could not get anything to georeference, even though we had everything with RTK corrections and everything. Like, it was just a nightmare. I had Pix4D racking their brains. I had DJI racking their brains on why nothing was working like it was supposed to be. After about a week of jacking with it, it finally processed and everything went great. But that was one of the worst experiences, being out on a live scene. Another one is I did what everybody does. Well, hopefully everybody does. I was flying my drone on a search and recovery mission. We had a flooding event where they wanted us to go try to find some 5 missing people who they presumed were dead. And so I was out flying, and I got the warning, said, "Hey, you should return to home. You're running out of battery." I was like, "Nah, you'll be fine." So fatal error, right? So the drone's coming back, and I naturally ran out of battery, and so it went into critical land, and luckily I was able to drive it onto the side of the flooded riverbank, and then we had to walk a really far way, shoe off a water moccasin, shoe off a boar, move some cattle, and go retrieve our M210. So that sucked. But successes are always the fines for us. So like I was saying, our program started with a tragedy with an autistic juvenile. Our very first find was a successful find of a missing autistic individual. So they were looking for him for over an hour. They called us out. We found him inside 30 minutes, and everybody got to go home safe. It was awesome. Really good use case for the drone program. We've been able to use them multiple times for searching for suspects to keep everybody safe. I mean, in today's world, you know, we are under the microscope for literally anything we do, right or wrong. And so there's nothing better than being able to provide the guys on the ground as much information as possible. So, you know, hey, I see him, he's laying down, I can see his hands. I can't see his hands, you know, he's being compliant, you know, so that the guys, when they get to the actual individual, they can make safe decisions for everybody involved, including the individual we're dealing with at that time. And we've had quite a few of those where we've been very, very successful on that. And so those are the wins, you know, where we get to help everybody go home safely.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about, you know, getting people back safe, and the cops, the officers, you know, going home safe, you know. And you know, Brandon, I didn't say this, but thank you for your service. You know, it really it means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to most of it, probably all the people in the chat. So thank you. You know, but,
I have a question for Brandon.
Oh, okay, sure.
I got a question for you, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, no, I'm curious. Like, we know all the sci-fi movies, right? And
Right.
and drones being more integrated in the service. Like, I'm curious what you think is kind of the 5-10 year sort of vision, especially like considering Skydio with their all like very automated fleet, basically. Like, do you envision like drones being like almost like implemented in? I've seen it like in fire trucks and whatnot, where they just like go out and then scan like an environment right from the get-go. Like, I mean, it's already possible right now. It's already tested. But I'm curious what your 5-10 year vision is.
I can see that happening. You're always going to have the boots on the ground. You're always going to have somebody that is going to be able to talk somebody down in a crisis. You're always going to need somebody that's going to have to make the tough decisions and put them in handcuffs, right? But Chula Vista has done an outstanding job of providing the data that they are receiving based off of their program. And they're able to clear 25% of their calls without ever putting a person there, just with the drone. I mean, so that's huge. So in a day that we have police officers or agencies, that are having a hard time finding police officers to do the job, you could do it with a drone, right? And so I can see that being much more enhanced than it currently is with the current systems that we have. Skydio has an outstanding, unmatched collision avoidance system, which is huge for safety. And so, they seeing something like that, coupled with some of the stuff that the H-20T can do with longer flight time, you're kind of making the dream drone at that point for law enforcement and public safety. There's certainly already drones that are attached to chief's buggies for fire departments where they get on scene. They launch like a photo kite that's on a tethered system where they can keep an overwatch the whole time and be able to provide situational awareness and coordination with their people on the ground that they weren't able to see before because of the smoke. So at the end of the day, that helps them be more effective and more efficient in the jobs that they're doing. So I 100% see drones being even more implemented into public safety as a whole in the next 5-10 years, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, that was a good question. Good question. Yeah.
My question for you was, how did you learn to be as good as you are for cinematography? Because like I said, I run my communications program too. I'm the manager for that. And so I'm trying to get them to be more familiar and try to figure out how to get those cinematic shots. Was it all trial and error, or how did that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great question. I think it's a combination of multiple things, right? Like, you on one side, you need to get comfortable flying in general, like navigating the drone and not freaking out all the time. I remember the first times when I flew, it was like always adrenaline, flowing through me. But like after a while, dissipates. And so I think like being comfortable and knowing how to navigate the drone is the first and most important thing to have as a base layer. And then the other component is like how to frame a nice image, right? Like how camera movements work and composition works and then all the camera settings also, like all the technical components of that. So you have the technical component of the drone, you have the technical component of the camera, and that aspect, and then you have the creative aspect of like how to capture an image properly. So for me, it was like, I mean, I was always on photography side, so the imagery part was like kind of getting becoming more a quicker second nature. I think for me was like just tackling the technical component, but I think for everyone else, there's a lot of tutorials. I've put out a couple of tutorials how to capture cinematic drone footage, like some basic moves. I mean, like nowadays, like a couple of those moves are even like automated in those DJI drones. So yeah, I would say it's just like learning the theory behind it, and then just like when you go out and shoot, and I think that's like more like advice for when you're out on the ground every time when you go out to shoot, is like as you come to a place, thinking about certain shots you can capture and you want to capture, and because like obviously flight time is limited, so you want to already map out, okay, like when I fly over there where I actually want to get the shot, maybe I can capture already something on the side, and so you can lay out like sort of a flight plan, even if you have to do it on the go real quick. You can make most out of your flight time really that way, I think the biggest thing that I see many people like when they're getting into filmmaking with drones is like those abrupt movements. Don't do those. that's the easiest way to get started. Don't do like abrupt stop or like abrupt pans or so. That's the, like, being smooth on the dials, on the gimbal dial and the sticks is everything.
Very cool. Thank you.
Good. That's great. Yeah. But listen, I don't want to cut you off. You guys are eligible for this contest, just to let you know. But I do a monthly giveaway, and that's a hat. Okay, it's an Adventures with Capt Ray Kelly hat. And all you have to do is guess the correct color. So if you put in the color and you get the correct thing, your name will go in for the monthly drawing. So now's the time. People, enter your color. And you guys are eligible too. So first one to get the correct color, the name goes in the hat, for the hat. And it looks like we got the correct answer, and it's Bill. Congratulations, Bill. The color's green. I think he was the first one to get green. So, all right, Metro Drones. Bill, your name will go in the hat for the drawing. All right. But anyway, we got a real great crowd in the house, guys, and I know it's because, you know, you guys are on the show, and I try to keep it to about an hour, so I don't go into Robbie's time, and the hour just flies by. It really does, you know. Hopefully you guys enjoyed yourself, and I know you are very, very interesting, both of you, and Robbie also, you know, so. As much as I hate to say it, it's time to say goodbye. So if you guys want to say your goodbyes, I'll let you go first. And if you want to promote anything, feel free to do it.
Yeah, if y'all got any law enforcement, public safety as a whole agencies, don't hesitate to shoot them my way. My email's real simple. It's just uas@pearlandtx.gov. It's uas@pearlandtx.gov. I'd be happy to help them out with anything they got, whether it's public COAs, WART 107 stuff, best practices, whatever they got. That's what I love to do, is help them out. So don't hesitate to throw them my way.
All right, great. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for being on the show. And Joey, what about you? You got anything you want to promote and say your goodbyes?
Yeah, first of all, thanks so much for having me. It was great. I really enjoyed that hour. Certainly passed by very fast, like you said. If anyone wants to check out my channel, see drones crashing into volcano, but also like getting actually nice shots, and there's a couple of tutorials. Check it out, Joey Helms on YouTube. You'll find me, and hope to see a couple of you around there too.
Yeah. No. Like I say, you know, I always close the show, or I try to close the show with telling everybody to check out your channels, and we should all support each other. You know, it's a great community, this drone community. And I want to thank you all for coming in tonight. I want to thank my guests. You know, you were very, very interesting. Really, I learned a lot. You know, and we got a great lineup tonight. The World Drone Community comes on right at 7:00. Drone Nation, he comes on. They come on. Marcus and Ron, they come on at 9 p.m. You know, and that's a great show. I can't say enough about that show. I learned so much watching those two guys when I first started flying drones, and they always have interesting guests on. And DeMarco, who was in the chat, he's one of the new co-hosts on that show. You know, DeMarco, he'll be picking his football picks for next week. You know, and while I'm talking about DeMarco, he and his uncle are going to be a guest on the Fly for Fun show on Wednesday. So be sure to tune in for that. The Fly for Fun show Wednesday at 7 p.m. But Johnny Drone Flyer and myself, we also have this live stream drone guide. If anybody wants a copy, get a hold of me or get a hold of Johnny Drone Flyer, and we'll send you the copy of the list. Because there's so many different drone live streams on right now, it's hard to keep track of them. But in closing, I if you guys want to stay in the back room, I'll end the broadcast. But I want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight. Get out there, fly your drones, fly for fun, but most importantly, fly safely. All right. So I'll see you again next week, guys. And thanks again for tuning in. All right. Good night.
Thank you.